Lara Logan was the one who got very, very upset at the late Michael Hastings for his essentially reporting on McChrystal, who was the JSOC general, right? And she was offended by what he did. And then and she was on CBS at that time. And then something happened to her. Things got a little bit weird.
She cracked.
A little bit Q-y, I think, at one point too, wasn't she? Yeah. And she's now an investigative journalist. I guess she was before a war correspondent. And she's on the Charlie Kirk show. And here she is talking about the completely debunked theory that the U.S. was working on bioweapons in labs in Ukraine.
Because if you look at Ukraine and you look at what's been happening there in the last few years, they've had very strange outbreaks of botulism and COVID, SARS-like diseases, and so on, right? That no one has been able to explain and that haven't been taking place anywhere else. Now imagine you're Vladimir Putin and you're supposed to take the United States at face value. First of all, you took over all of Russia's bioweapons facilities. So they know that these are bioweapons facilities. Maybe you built some of your own. We don't know that for sure, but we do know that there is a massive number of pharmaceutical companies and pharmaceutical development companies and bioscience companies who just happen to be headquartered in Ukraine. And, you know, when you're, as an investigative journalist, I mean, that raises a red flag for me because it's not typical. Not every country in the world has that kind of, infrastructure. And we're right fresh in the midst, which everyone seems to have forgotten about, of a pandemic that wasn't really a pandemic. That if you go back to the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Fauci knew years ago. His name is on paper and research at NIH that shows he knew that ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and all these things, you know, would treat COVID, and yet they withheld these treatments. We know that COVID is a product of gain-of-function research. I mean, give me a break, right? No one's actually calling for the wet market, escape from the lab. Maybe it was a mistake kind of thing anymore because of the pattern of behavior that has followed. And we now have even one of the big investors at BlackRock, one of the portfolio managers there, who has broken away from BlackRock. He's out pointing out statistically how look at what we have, comorbidities. The vaccines are killing people. So, you know, while some people may believe that they're being
we got to get to a break.
I bet.
Saving some people.
I bet. Does he get to the break?
They're actually murdering people. This is, you know, genocide by government.
Right. So we got to get to a break.
Wait, where does he go after this? Is that the end of the clip?
That's it, I think, God. Right?
I wonder if they get back to her.
It's kind of suspicious that Ukraine has labs.
Well, I mean, again, we know that the Soviets had set up these labs, and what we have not heard a single, claim that there's like any type of like real production of these things, as opposed to like they're there in these labs and they're trying to secure them. But she does herself, I think, like she does herself right in this situation. She talks about the Ukraine labs, and then talks about how the vaccines are actually set up to kill people. And Fauci knew years ago, I guess the idea was that the COVID was supposed to be developed, and knew that ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and the crazy ways of Wazaween were supposed to cure COVID.
We're going to get like shadow banned for even mentioning those cures.
I just say like this got us in trouble in Left Reckoning because it wasn't Charlie Kirk, but the other idiot Turning Point's kid, Will Witt. We were just saying like he had this entire like pandemic bullshit down too, and just talking about it might get you snared up. But yeah, just for the YouTube censors, we are criticizing this.
Yes, this is sarcasm.
This is sarcasm. We are not suggesting that clickbaity qualiquine can actually treat COVID or raise my clout to pine. I wouldn't take that either. Or
like my tweetazine.
Like my tweetazine, or substackathorazine would treat COVID. It is amazing to see these converge, though. Like, I think she seems to be arguing that the and do we have that tweet thread? There's a really long tweet thread where someone do we put this up? Okay. And this guy, Isla, what is his? We just look at his bio for a second. He is a writer and editor at OCCRP. And he goes on to this whole tweet thread is go down to the end of it. It's a long one.
That's the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project.
And they're talking about the idea of like these things. Go all the way down to the bottom. And he talks about who helped in the development of this thread. And you got to keep going down there, I think. It's a very long thread.
Oh,
and
man.
Greenwald engages here. It's actually pretty funny. He says, okay, the group that worked on this thread, parsing the list and checking all the strains, a doctor of biology from Sweden, a candidate of biological science in Belarus, a doctor of biological science in France, a biologist postgraduate student in Russia, two of them actually in Russia, a biologist in Russia, microbiologist in Belarus, another one in Belarus, another one in Belarus. Bit by bit goes through the argument, and here's go all the way back up. He starts the thread all the way back up to the top of the thread, please. Yes. This writer walks through the fallacy of that of some papers that were leaked that Russia claims the Ukrainians are carrying out emergency disposal of pathogens that they had been developing with U.S. help. Now, of course, Glenn did a hour-long video on it, and the author who has written these tweets, you go down, and the tweet presents the claims in the screenshot. This is where they start. RIA Novosti publishes, this is a Russian news outlet, says were obtained by the Russian Defense Ministry. They purport to show that the Ukrainians were scrubbing evidence of biological weapons research program. And he goes through why these are not the case. The beginning of the debunking thread by Olga Peterson, a Soviet-born geneticist living and working in Sweden. If you read Russian, you can read it here. Otherwise, continue reading. He's going to translate. And she talks about the collaboration from the scientists from Belarus, France, and Russia, and Sweden on the topic of Ukraine's development of bacteriological weapons. Thank you. We're not specialists in military propaganda. We can, though, expose all fakes published by Goebbels TV. We work in this area. We're not banned by Google, and we're ordained by God himself to comb through microbes and scientific articles. And so they go through this, and they analyze everything point by point. What's the document? Why such documents exist? Why bacteria are stored? What kind of bacteria are on the list? And the best part about this, and you go through it, you can read it, and people can see if they find it credible by these microbiologists and whatnot. Glenn gets upset that the guy has taken a screenshot of the video and not linked to it at one point.
Oh.
And
I thought he was just upset that Rust shirt was on display for the world.
And the guy says, well, I actually did link it at the end. But the funny part here is that, like, why should the idea that you come back on a thread like this and your only retort is, why don't you link to the video? Like, why aren't you have now spent, like, you have a dozen people who have collaborated on debunking this specific claim that you have promoted for an hour on your video. And your response is, here's how I find their debunking to be wrong. Your response is not, they get this part wrong. The claim that they attribute to me is wrong. No, it is, how come you're not promoting my misinformation?
Why would said person promote misinformation when the thread is all about why you are wrong and spreading lies? I mean, that's like the exact opposite of what is reporter should be doing.
And at the end, however, so Glenn writes that you're trying to prevent people from seeing that you're lying, and the reason why you only screenshot the video rather than link to it is because you're completely lying about what I said.
I would just say Glenn did that to us on a discussion about, I can't remember what it was, but he linked it was a Thursday show, and he just did a screenshot of our episode and didn't actually link to it.
Of course he does.
He's a bit of a hypocrite. But,
of course. I know, we've been way past. Preventing your followers from seeing what I actually said is the way to hide them from the lies you're telling. And then at the end he goes, I linked it to it at the end, smart guy. And he goes, yes, you posted a link in the 33rd tweet after boring everybody with lies about, I mean, this is just so
This is just
pathetic.
a form debate, right? Like, as opposed to the content of what is being said. He has zero ability to refute it.
No, zero. And then I guess somebody jumped in.
Owen Higgins.
Owen Higgins.
There's one example of him doing the exact.
He does the same thing over and over again. He's done it 100 times.
Maybe that is Glenn telling us why he only would link to a image.
That's exactly why he does.
Of course it is.
That's exactly why they do that. I mean, and
that's just conservative projection.
But it's amazing. I still am just sort of amazed by the willingness. And I was amazed by this the other day with Jordan Peterson, as much as I think he's a schmuck. The idea that you can post stuff that is so blatantly wrong, have it corrected, in this case with Jordan Peterson yesterday, by the author of the thing that he was posting, not respond to it, not apologize, not in any way correct it, make no attempt whatsoever. And know that it is, I mean, in the case of the ivermectin thing, could end up causing real health issues for people. Know that you're backfilling for a reason for an illegal invasion of another country. Putin himself, when he did his hour-long why we're going to invade in the next couple of days talk, never brought up these so-called biological weapons that apparently have never been deployed, except for if you believe Lara Logan, when the vaccine for COVID is not out there trying to kill people. She says there was they had botulism at different times in Ukraine. Like, why would that be there? Why would you have botulism?
Why would
we have how many times do we have a botulism scare on spinach in this country? I mean, give me a break. And I'm shocked by it. I still am shocked by it. I know I shouldn't be, but I'm shocked by it.
Glenn in particular?
Glenn, but just any of these people who just I just don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
It seems stupid, just from a self-preservation standpoint of your credibility.
I think there's always going to be an audience, and I think this audience is going to be the audience that they're appealing to. I think has a cap, but the level of fervor, it is not. It is completely. I can assure you that no one who watched Glenn's video read through those 33 tweets. No one.
Yeah.
And if they did, they would still be like, I don't believe it. I mean, they'd only screen grabbed Glenn's tweet and didn't link it to the 33rd tweet. So obviously, these 8 scientists who debunk the entire premise of this conspiracy have to be wrong, or otherwise they would have linked the actual link in the first tweet. God. Yes, Naomi was supposed to be on the show today. Everything is okay. She just did not feel well, and she's resting up for her show tonight. Jay Tingle, surprised you mentioned Greenwald. As long as he's on the menu, he should also be mercilessly mocked for his desperate praise of Michael Tracy for his coverage in covering the Ukraine invasion from Poland.
So I was a bit disconnected for the past week, so I might have missed some of this, but has Michael Tracy taken his karaoke talents international?
I do not know.
He's in Poland or something like that, taking cell phone videos of trucks. So
that's fun.
It's
New
really
trucker
funny though.
convoy?
The IMer was right.
He's on the free speech beat, right? Where he's helping the voiceless of the people who are protesting in Russia.
Yeah.
Or is that not what he's doing?
So he's in Poland, right? He's it's free speech on Polish college campuses too. It's still under attack. He's at
Warsaw,
University of Warsaw. Gotta be
Warsaw.
Sticking up for the kids.
Yep.
What's funny about Glenn's defense of him, though, is it includes all the critiques, which is like, look at Michael Tracy getting off his ass. Like, it's like there was a group chat, and they're like, Michael, you got to get off your ass and actually do something, because you can't just sit here and tweet out like contrarian garbage. Go out and like be seen at a college campus with a microphone, like performing journalism somehow, because otherwise, like, nobody knows really what it is you do.
Right.
That's his bona fides. He's been on the ground.
He's been on the ground. He's been on the ground in Poland. I mean, good for him. I haven't seen any of what the reporting has produced.
I've seen some criticism of the reporting. I haven't seen any breakthroughs yet, but I hold out possibility that we're going to really break something wide open.
Yes, I mean, I commend him for going over there to report based upon what the reporting ends up being. I will also not forget everything else he has done in the past, including. And I think to some extent he needed to do this because he was one of the first guys to come out and go like, they're bombing a maternal ward, but only 15 people are injured. He got on Twitter very quick to do that before the reports of all the people and women and children who died.
Disgusting.
It was disgusting. And when you've got that hanging around your neck, heading off to Poland, probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. You sort of showed the cynical psychopathy behind it. So now you got to go make amends.
And the amazing thing that I think people are not giving him credit for, his delightful girlfriend is having to stay back in this country or in France. Where is she, in France or Canada?
I think she's modeling in like Vienna or something.
Yeah, I thought she went to a different camp.
She's laughing off screen. But she's got to wait for him to come back from Poland.
She's quietly supporting off screen.